Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Welcome to the
everyone.
show.
We're talking hatchling care. What you are not prepared for, what you need to do to be prepared, and all the above.
That is correct.
Sounds like a plan. Let's roll the intro.
Let's roll it. All right. We're back after 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Not even that, like 10 seconds.
I think it's a 10-second intro. How you doing today, Josh?
I'm good.
Good?
Busy at work per usual.
It's,
I know you're the same. So,
sure am. And I'm sick.
Down almost 200 more ball pythons on Morph Market.
We're getting there.
So 28,566.
Nice.
That is down 7,800 from 15 weeks ago.
It's crazy.
Hatchling season, I'm sure it'll go up.
Yeah.
Don't know by how much, but we'll see.
Maybe that's why it's offsetting. It's not going down 350 a week.
Yeah, I mean, like same time last year, I'm pretty sure we were at almost 40,000. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we are losing more than we are gaining. So, yeah,
Well, that's supply and demand. That means our banana pies are worth more.
that's right. Or they will be, hopefully.
Hopefully soon. Yeah.
Again, like I think just from the passing of time and how projects change over time, I think what people get for the amount that they spend is just better the
Yeah.
longer you go. So
Yeah. And I think shed testing is definitely helping too with the numbers.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well, good week. I've been sick and working and sick. How was your Father's Day?
it was good.
Yeah.
Uh, we all went and saw the live action Lilo and Stitch movie
Nice.
on Sunday.
There you
Um, so that was a lot of fun. And other than that, it was just kind of chilling. That was it. Did some
go.
work around the house, but yeah, pretty laid back weekend.
Nice. I was supposed to take the boys to the circus, and I sat on the couch and watched the U.S. Open instead because I was hating life. So, yeah, fun times.
But we are still here for you people.
We are, no matter what, rain, sleet, snow, we'll be here for you.
That's right.
Let's talk about Hatchling care.
Yep.
All right.
Do we start all the way at the beginning? Do we
I
start
think
before a hatchling?
I think we do. I think we
Okay.
run the whole gambit, right?
All right.
Because I feel like this is newer to hobbyists to moving into a business type episode. Um, the more experienced breeders are probably already prepared for all of this. So this is maybe somebody who's had a season or two or none and need to know what's going on, and we'll help them out with that.
All right.
So let's run down before you even start breeding. Does that sound like a plan?
Sure.
All right. Well,
But before you're breeding,
before you're breeding,
you've graduated high school.
you have graduated high school. Some people don't even make it through high school before breeding,
That's right.
but it's okay. The industry standard tells us that you want females at 3 years at 1,500 grams. I can tell you from personal experience, that is not a must. I've seen um, I've seen hookups before 1,300 grams and watched females blow up to 1,500 grams because they know that it's going down. And I do like the idea of being older and more mature, obviously, because you're going to get bigger clutches. Females will bounce back quicker, all that kind of good stuff. But it is just like in humans. It's when the females are ready, the females are ready, right?
Yeah, as long as when you are pairing, everybody's healthy.
Yes.
You're not pairing animals that haven't eaten in 6 months.
No, that's not
Shit like that.
It's not a good move. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have a mite outbreak going on.
No.
And you're still pairing.
RI outbreak. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Everybody's healthy.
Yeah.
Obviously, an ultrasound helps a lot with this.
It does.
Because you can see the follicle growth on the female, regardless of size. And then males are kind of like ready to go pretty quick.
This is true. And to be honest, the longer you're in this, the more you'll know your snakes.
Yeah.
And you'll know what they look like and what they, how they're feeling when it comes to breeding. So pay attention to your snakes, be in there every day, looking at them, handling them, getting yourself familiar with them, and it'll help you a lot in the long run, for sure. I do not suggest buying an animal and throwing it right in with another animal, whether you think it's ready or not. Give some acclimation time. Get used to your setup, your temps, your humidity, all that kind of stuff. I've known breeders that have done that, and I don't recommend it. So males, it says 6 to 12 months, 500 plus grams. I have definitely seen males smaller than 500 grams do the damn thing. I wouldn't go less than 6 months because that's probably not a good move. But yeah. Don't just throw shit together. Have a plan. Have a breeding plan. Because otherwise you're going to get stuck with hatchlings that nobody wants, and it's going to take longer to move them. And if they don't want them, you probably don't want them either. So then you're just feeding mouths, and then you're feeding mouths for a while until you realize nobody wants them, and then you're wholesaling them or discounting them significantly.
After you've already spent a ton of money feeding them and housing them, and probably are not recouping.
Right. So make smart choices with your pairings. Typically, breeding season is fall to winter time. Here in Colorado, it's any time of the year. But there are definitely seasonal areas in the U.S. and throughout the globe. Some breeders lower temps to stimulate breeding. I've never done that. I have paid attention to the weather, and when you get to September, October time here in Colorado, especially first snow, you get like 100% lock rate for snow. Around Halloween time is a great time to start pairing, but you're looking for the barometric pressure to dip, and the snakes feel that. The snakes know that, and they get frisky around that time. So sometimes it's I don't do the whole dropping temps in the racks or the rooms or anything like that. I just let it be natural, and nature will take its path. So some people introduce males every week. I don't do that. I don't know about you, Josh, but I'm a once a month kind of guy. So I try and get in like four locks if I'm following the season, right? I try and get in 4 locks before the end of the year, and I also don't want to burn out males, so I do have the ultrasound, which helps. But I ultrasound every month, or I try to ultrasound every month because it is year-round breeding here in Colorado. So if you don't burn out your males in the wintertime, it allows them to be fresh and ready to go all year long. Less pairings, the better. Be more efficient, right? So it's a good idea, good move. You're looking for ovulation and a post-ovulation shed. If you don't know what an ovulation is, it's essentially the middle third to back third of the body of the female just blows up, and she gets real ripe looking. Scales are separating, and yeah. And then you'll have a post-ovulation shed, and then that shed usually happens about 2 weeks after the ovulation, and then eggs are typically laid like 30 days after the post-ovulation shed. So keep an eye on it if you can. Get in there every day and look for an ovulation, and then you have a pretty good idea when you should mark down 30 days from there. Or you should mark down 2 weeks for the shed, and then 30 days from the shed, you should have eggs. Now, some females go quicker. Some females, I've seen 45 days after post-ovulation shed. So, to each their own. But that's what you're looking for.
What was that?
I don't know.
Someone knocking at the door?
I live in Aurora, so there's gunshots all the time. Who knows? All right. Do you have any comments on that?
Nope.
Nope. Cool. Preparing for eggs. So I've seen this quite a few times where breeders will go crazy doing lots of pairings, and they miss ovulations. They find a shed. They don't know it's a post-ovulation shed. And then all of a sudden they have 150 babies and no rack space. So if you ever ordered racks, it's not like they come tomorrow, right? Yeah. So keep that in mind. My general rule of thumb is if you're pairing, like, let's say 10 females, and you expect 10 females to go, have 100 slots, rack space available, because you do not know if they are going to produce 4 eggs, 6 eggs, 10 eggs. What you don't want to do is scramble at the last minute to try and find rack space for animals. So just expect all of them to lay 10 eggs, and you'll have yourself covered.
I don't know if anybody out there is in Adam's Patreon for proper royals, but somebody posted today they had a Volta girl drop 17 eggs.
Oh.
It's like, wow, that's a big clutch.
Yeah. Big girl, I'm sure, too.
Yeah.
It's one of those 6 foot plus.
Yep.
Big old Volta girls. Lay boxes. Not lay boxes. What am I thinking? Clutch boxes. Have your clutch boxes ready, set up. However you decide to set up your clutch boxes, there's so many different ways to do it, right?
Yeah.
From the substrate to the egg crates, whatever you
do.
Use. So I use a vermiculite perlite mix, and then I have Dragon Hatch trays, and I have 30 Dragon Hatch trays, and I have tons of 6-quart. I don't even know how many 6-quart tubs I have.
Yeah.
And then I have bags and bags of perlite and vermiculite. and I do a half and half perlite vermiculite mix, and then give it a good wet down, almost to where there's standing water, and then drop a tray in and cover it with not clean press and seal, and then put the lid on, and then I have a card in between the press and seal and the lid that tells me when they laid, who it was, how many eggs, good, bad, and expected pip date. And typically pips are 55 to 60 days. I seem to run at 54 days every time, and I'm okay with that. 88 to 90 degrees, I run at 89 exactly all the time. And you're looking for 100% humidity in there. And I box them up and I put them in the incubator, and I forget about them until my phone goes off and lets me know, hey, it's day 54. Then I look in there, and sure as shit, there's usually one, if not two, little pip guys. I don't cut eggs until I see at least two pips. In the past, I've cut with one pip, and then found that maybe one of the eggs was not even close to ready yet. So it wasn't a good idea. I probably had 3 or 4 days to go, and I shouldn't have cut that early. So I always wait for at least two pips. Even if one comes on day 54 and one comes on day 56, I wait for two pips before I cut eggs, and then I cut them all.
Cool. So, I do the exact same thing, except I use water beads.
Yeah.
Or beads. I was using vermiculite.
Yeah.
And it's just messy. And the water beads are great because then you can clean them, dry them back out, and then use them again later.
Oh, nice.
So
I've seen people just use straight water. Yep. I've seen people use cocoa husk. I've seen people use no trays and just right in, like Kibelka, this guy. He just dumps them right in the substrate. So it's really whatever works for you. I'd say if it was the first time you've ever done it, I'd go the safest route as possible, because you are going to be really pissed if your first clutch doesn't make it. So, general rule of thumb, I think I've heard the most success with just using vermiculite and perlite and a tray, press and seal, and running that route. But maybe there's somebody in your area that has more experience. We all live in different places, around the U.S. or worldwide, and there's different barometric pressure, there's different temps, there's different, all that kind of stuff. Incubator is supposed to be, non-volatile, so it's supposed to be completely enclosed, space, but I think there's still outside factors that happen. Otherwise, Will Banks wouldn't be making the new incubators that he's making now, right? So,
and you don't have to get one of those. I found like, man, go on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and just find a broken cooler somebody will give you for free, because you're going to want to gut that thing anyway to get the compressor and everything out, and then run some heat tape, fan, thermostat, and you're good.
You're good.
I would make sure that you test your incubator before you put any eggs in it to make sure it maintains a temperature, maintains humidity, and it runs properly.
And when making your own incubator, I would suggest getting a few thermostats or temp gauges and putting them all throughout the incubator, because you don't want hot spots, right? You could have 92 in one place, which will kill the embryo, and 89 in another spot, which is perfect. So know everything about the environment inside your incubator, right? Especially if you're going to use that incubator for a while and you get up there in clutch numbers, You're filling that incubator up. You could have some that are hatching at day 52, 53 because it's warmer, and then others that are hatching at 58, 59 because it's a cooler spot, and you don't know why. And I tell you right now, that's why.
Why I put a fan in the bottom
Yep.
that goes up, and so it just circulates the air
All around.
And the bottom, I have 2 rows of 12-ounce bottled water
Okay.
that I just leave in there, just to maintain heat. Because if something does happen, at least they'll maintain the heat in the incubator a little bit longer.
Yeah.
As long as I keep it closed and don't open it.
Yeah.
So
Another thing I do, which not everybody, I don't know. I have an EcoFlow solar generator that is specifically for my incubator. So if I have a power outage of up to 12 hours, my incubator will continue to run for 12 hours past the power outage. And that's the only thing in my house that is on the solar generator. It's worth the money. I think it was like $500, $550, something like that. If you think of having 6 or 7 clutches in there, that could be worth $5,000 a clutch. $500 for a generator is nothing, right? Compared to losing $20,000 in clutches or something like that.
the other thing I do, aside from the gauges, like I have little wireless gauges that I have in the incubator that I can check the temperature and humidity on my phone.
Govies.
Also spend $20 and get like a heat gun.
Yeah.
Just so you can check it as well.
Yeah.
And that's good for your bins as well, to make sure that everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't invested in one of those, it's $20. Like,
really?
Yeah, you can find cheaper ones on Amazon too, but like, it's well worth it just to check hot spots, check whatever.
For sure. We have a question from Renee.
Oh.
By the way, what up, Renee? What up, Dickie? How long do you leave the hatchlings in a community tub before moving to separate bins? So, me personally, after they pip, I cut the eggs. It's usually 1 to 3 days for them to all crawl out of the eggs. And as they're crawling out of the eggs, I remove the eggs because they get nasty, right? And then it's typically 7 days for them to shed out. I add more water in to increase the humidity. It should already be at 100%, but I've opened the press and seal multiple times because I get excited. So I add a little bit more water in, and it's usually about 7 days for them to all shed out. I leave them all in there together so they can curl up on each other and help each other shed. And then after they've all shed out, I set them up all in their own 6-quart tubs, and they go into the rack. So I wait for them to all shed out before going into their own tubs.
So I do a little different. Once they all come out and they all seem to be doing good, I actually move them to their own tubs before they shed out, just in case I want to shed test.
There you go.
Because I want to make sure I get the right shed for the right animal if I got to send it off.
Yeah. I just wait for their second shed to send out. Yeah.
So I ran into the problem that I travel for work, and a lot of times April is watching them, and if they shed, she'll just chuck the shed, like clean up the bin and chuck the shed. So I've missed second and third sheds before. And like there's still some animals that I'm like, oh God, can I please just be home when this one sheds?
Another reason why I wait for second shed is because I'm typically not shed testing the entire clutch. And so I want to find out sex and then my best guess on the genes, if it's a possible holdback or not. Otherwise, I'm pretty good at identifying what's coming out of the clutch. But especially for like a holdback, if it's a female holdback of the genes that I'm interested in keeping around, right, in that combo, then that I'll wait for the second shed, because I I usually will sex after their first shed and after they get into the tubs. So, because I don't want to, they're so small and so frail at that point. I'm not looking to mess up, reproductive organs right out of the egg, right? So, I have been told I don't know my own strength, so I would feel really, really bad about that, right? So, thanks for the question, Renee. Up next.
Well, they've hatched. We got them in bins now.
We got them in bins.
They've had their first shed. Next thing is their first meal, probably.
First meal, yeah. All right. So in their first bins, I typically will put them in a very basic setup, 6-quart tub. I just put a water bowl and a paper towel. It's 2-layer paper towel, right? And I will give them, after they've had their first shed, they go into their own tub, water bowl, paper towel. I give them 7 days to metabolize everything that's just gone into their body from the yolk, and then I will offer the first meal. If they do not eat that first meal, which most of them will, because if I wait 7 days, they are hungry by that time, right? If they don't eat that first meal, I throw a hide in. Try it again. They don't eat that time, it's a hide and substrate. So I'm changing up the environment as I'm attempting another feed, right? What up, North Country? So that's how I do it. If they have refused to eat after 3 times, so that's a plain tub, a tub with a hide and substrate, they've refused all 3 or not eaten after all 3, then I will go to an assist feed. And that's how I roll. By the time they have not eaten the 3rd time, they are looking rough. They definitely need the assist feed to make it happen. And at that point, I use a frozen thawed like day of Pinky, right? So it just had a litter. It's less than 24 hours old. It's very small. That's a frozen thawed Pinky rat for me. It happens very rarely. Of course, it happened with the pastel yellow belly nanny lace girl that I really liked out of that 2 clutches ago. And I had to do an assist feed on her, and now she's right as rain. So,
yep.
But I also will typically do for live, I will do their first 3 meals as an ASF hopper. The difference, the size is about the same as a rat Pinky, but an ASF hopper moves around a lot more, and it gives them a better feeding response, right? They see something jumping around in their little tub compared to a little Pinky that's just rolling, doing nothing, right? The ASF hopper gives them a better feeding response. And then I will do 3 meals of ASF hoppers and then get them over to a rat fuzzy. So that's how I roll on that.
Occasionally, you'll also get an animal that doesn't want to eat rats. As they're growing, sometimes they'll show a predisposition to a certain kind of feeder, even a certain color.
Yeah.
So just keep an eye out and just take notes. Bookkeeping's a really important thing as well.
Yep.
Just to try to identify trends and things that might be working or not working for you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I keep doing this and damn thing isn't eating. Maybe I need to switch this up.
Especially when you get up in numbers, you're looking at 100 plus hatchlings. It's tough to remember which ones are off
eating
the wagon.
What eating like
for sure. Oh. So that's definitely a good move. Definitely a good move.
I mean, I pretty much do exactly the same thing. I do Hatchlings I clean every day. They oftentimes, so I know you use the water dishes with the lids. I use this right here. It's a 3-inch coupling.
Oh yeah.
PVC coupling with a 4-ounce deli cup, just to make it bottom heavy so it doesn't tip over, but they still occasionally knock these over.
Yeah.
So every morning I go through all my hatchlings, make sure nobody spilled water, clean up poops, because it's just a paper towel in there. Any urates I clean up. I definitely spend a lot more time with the hatchlings than I do with the adults. The adults I go through every day, but it's really just a spot clean. It's like, oh, pull that out, make sure there's water. But definitely more attentive to hatchlings.
Yeah, I
so
use
keep in
this.
mind it's more time.
Yeah, I use the 16-ounce delis with a lid with the hole in the top that I get from superiorshippingsupplies.com. And if they're tipping that over, that's too big of a snake for a 6-quart. So
yeah,
that's a good gauge. Hey, it's time to go to the 1065 or 1070. So, but it also gives them enough. I like the 16-ounce because it gives them enough space for them to, if they want to go in and soak, they can.
yeah.
Right. So it helps them with the shedding as well. So that's just the way I've done it, and that's the way I go about it. But just like, with anything, it's to each their own, and whatever works for you works for you. Right. Yep. So.
Okay, so that's the bins. We talked a little bit about feeding. Keep in mind as well, like we talk about the hatchlings themselves and having space for 100 hatchlings. Also keep in mind, some stuff isn't, if you are selling animals, some stuff isn't going to sell right away. And you might get to a point where a certain percentage of those animals you have to move up to larger bins just because they haven't sold.
Right.
I definitely have some of that right now, where I have some 2024 hatchlings that I need to get out of the 6 quarts and into. I bought another versatile rack from Animal Plastics, and I need to move them up. So just keep in mind that, there's what happens if things don't sell. You have to consider that as well.
All my snakes are in tubs where they can fully stretch the length of the tub, so I don't have to worry about
that. Also, feeding costs. If you have 60 hatchlings, you're spending probably about $1 or $2 a week on each of them to feed them. So if you have 60 animals and it costs you $2 per feeder, you're spending $120 a week for those hatchlings. That's $480 a month and close to $6,000 for the year.
Yep.
So keep that in mind before you make the animals. And again, time too. Like,
on the feeding note, reach out to your supplier. Some of us use local rodent breeders, and give them a heads up of what's going to be coming down the pipe to make sure they can still supply for you too, right? That's happened with me, and I really, really appreciate that, because I can account for what I know is coming, right?
Yeah.
So if you're buying from a small rodent breeder, and then one week you show up and you're like, I need 100 extra, or something like that, you might find that they're not going to have it. So hook up and love your local rodent breeder.
So again, things are multiplicative, not additive here. It's not like one female lays one egg. Usually it's going to be on average 6 per clutch, 6 to 7. Sometimes you're going to have more, sometimes you're going to have less. But you have to consider your time as well. Do you have the time to clean 100 tubs every day? I mean, individually, yeah, it's not bad, but times it by 100.
Yeah, it is by far my most time, soul sucking time for cleaning downstairs. I have a 1070, and I have which is a decent amount of time as well. But the hatchlings are a lot more time.
Yep.
So keep that in mind.
You're feeding them more, they poop more,
Yep.
and yeah.
Yep.
One
That's
other
good.
thing to consider too, we haven't talked about yet, and this happened to me, was set something aside just in case you have to take an animal to the vet. I had one animal last year that everything was great with everything else, but I had one animal had a great food response, but it regurgitated. Went, okay, well, I'll wait a couple weeks, feed it again. Fed it again, it regurgitated again. It would eat, it would wrap it, eat, everything was fine. Like, well, okay, I'm gonna assist feed it next time. Um, assist feeded, and I was massaging it down after it swallowed it,
Mm-hmm.
and it wouldn't go past a certain point. And like, well, okay, I'll just leave it. Came back the next morning, it had regurgitated. So I tried a liquid meal, and it wouldn't go down. So I'm like, well, shit, I don't know what's going on now. So I took it to the vet, and it had a blocked esophagus. Like, it didn't develop fully and connect.
Mm-hmm.
It basically got to a point and was closed. That was it. And could not take a meal, and I had to euthanize the animal. I mean, they did offer a very expensive surgery to try to fix the problem, but it might not fix it. So things happen.
Definitely.
And as rare as that thing is, hold on.
Bless
Excuse
you.
me,
Mm-hmm.
it does happen. And especially because everything's multiplicative. If you are producing 100 animals every year, you are going to run into things that you're not going to be able to figure out. And you'll need to either know people that know or take it to a vet. So,
I've seen quite a few things. In fact, one of the reasons why I do the egg cuttings is because early on I had a clutch, and I I cut, but I didn't dig around in there, and I didn't notice the umbilical cord was wrapped around the snake. And when the snake finally crawled out, it had a significant U in its back, and that was from where the umbilical cord was. Luckily, she made it, and she ate just fine. She grew up just fine. I sold her off as a pet, but I could have prevented that by locating the umbilical cord and unwinding it around her, and giving her better chance at a normal life.
yeah.
Which it sounds like she had, somewhat of a normal life anyway, but still, it's sad, right? Um, so keep an eye on that. Another thing I have seen, prolapse. A buddy of ours came over and had a amazing snake hatch out, and the innards were on the outers, and he was not eating, and he was living on wet paper towels to try and keep the humidity up, because when the innards are on the outside, they dry up, and that's not good to be always wet as well, because that can lead to RI. So that's another issue that can come up. So there's lots of things that can happen. Unfortunately, it's nature, right? And nature has a mind of its own. So be prepared for that kind of stuff.
Also, keep in mind that a lot of this stuff you can't prevent, so don't beat yourself up over it.
Definitely can't.
It happens. Another thing that, especially now, I budget for is shed testing.
Mm-hmm.
There are some pairings where I'm taking a gamble on either a het or what comes out is not what I'm expecting, and I'm not sure what the hell is going on. Case in point, if anybody's looked at my social media, I had a GHI black pastel het pied to a yellow belly lavender het pied clutch. I got 3 pieds, and 2 of them are completely white except for one small little dot on the tail end. And I have no fucking clue what's in that animal. I need to shed test those. I'm getting my stack of shed tests ready to send off. Actually, I have like 5 or 6 right now. I'm waiting for a few more animals to shed again. But yeah, it's plan for it. Stuff happens, or something will pop up where this is not what this should be. So I have it was a Butter Spectre het lav to a yellow belly lav het pied, same male as the other clutch. And I hit a dirty sock that obviously has butter. And there's a dorsal stripe on it that indicates that I hit the allelic combo, but it does not look like a super stripe. It looks like a highway or a freeway.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, well, I'm going to shed test this animal to find out if it is yellow belly and Spectre, or maybe it's yellow belly and something else, or Spectre and something else.
Right.
And then I'll have to shed test the parents after that if something weird comes back. But
yeah,
there's also been stuff that's come up in clutches where it's like just weird patterning, and I've shed tested the parent to see if something else is in there, and nope. It's like, just all right. It just looks a little different.
Yeah.
So, but budget for it, prepare for it. It's going to happen. And these are great times when it's really handy to have a group of people that you can spitball with, whether it's like a local group that you meet with, a Patreon that you have access to, something to where you can show pictures and go like, I don't know what's going on.
What do you guys think? That's right.
So,
yep.
What else?
I think that's pretty much all I got. Make sure you're compliant with local laws and wildlife permits if needed.
Yep. I would say the other thing is, like, I talk about budgeting for things, but like budgeting for hatchlings in general.
Yeah.
So like a 15 high AP hatchling rack fits 3 6-quart shoe boxes from the Container Store across in each row. 15 high, so it it's 45 hatchlings. It's about $500, another 50 for the cases of shoe boxes. So it's 550 just for the house. You're going to go through a lot more paper towels. You need to get your water dishes, a couple hides, just for animals that are a little more skittish and don't eat unless they have a hide.
Yep.
Plan for your time. Plan that you're going to have to buy some frozen thawed, and you're going to have to run to PetSmart every once in a while if your local supplier doesn't supply them.
Mm-hmm.
Get a snake hook. Just on feeding days, sometimes they have a really good food response, and if you're trying to open those tubs, they're little 6-quart chew racks. Your hand's right there opening them. Get a snake hook. That way you can just slide them open from a little bit of a distance. Food, budget for your food. If you're going to have 100 animals, again, you're paying probably $1 or $2 per meal. So you might be needing to budget $800 a month.
Yep.
And you can have a ramp down, say like after the first month, I can sell 10% of these animals.
Right.
Ramp down, ramp down. You're never, unless you just wholesale, which you should do once you get to a certain point, probably.
Mm-hmm.
You might be feeding an animal for a while, and you might be feeding an animal. Trevor mentioned earlier that you should plan your pairings. You want to plan them so you don't end up with normals that you are feeding for a year before you end up selling, because you're probably only going to sell that normal for like $30 to $40.
Right. That is a bad ROI.
Yeah. And just as you're planning your season, you can step through the whole thing. Like if you're pairing 30 animals, well, if I average 6 eggs a clutch, I can expect 180 hatchlings, but I should probably plan for some percentage more,
Mm-hmm.
just in case I have larger clutches. I'd
Right.
rather prepare for the high end and just have the extra space than not prepare, and then I'm spending a weekend doing a DIY rack or something.
Yeah, 30 clutches is 4 of those AP racks.
Yep.
Just think about
So
that.
that's 2,000. That's like 2,200 in
Just housing.
just housing.
Yep.
So
But
ideally, you want to make sure you can sell some of those snakes to make that back.
Yeah. Yeah, but in all reality, you're probably not doing 30 clutches your first year.
No,
Probably not.
no, but I think even after you have a couple clutches, like let's say you have 3-4 clutches that first year and it's super exciting, and it's like 20, 25 animals probably.
Right.
It's not a big thing. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna double this next year, or triple, whatever. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, this is a lot more time and a lot more money than I thought. Because you just didn't think it through. The numbers are there. Like even if you have that small sample of like 20 animals from your first year, you can go like, well, okay, 20 animals, it's costing me this much per week. So if I end up doing 80 animals, it's going to cost me this much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm spending this much time in the snake room every day. Well, if I triple that, I'm going to be spending this much time.
Right.
And some things are not 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Like going through each of those tubs and cleaning those tubs in the morning takes a majority of my time in the room every day.
Yeah.
And I think it actually, I don't think it just doubles if I double the amount of animals.
No.
So
I plan for 25 hours a week in taking care of them.
yeah.
That's what I do. And then I throw another 10 hours a week in for rodents. So it's my second job.
Yep.
Big time. Big time.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think so.
Another emotional thing. We talked about, like, when stuff happens, don't get emotionally beat up about something, because some animals you can't save. Also, the emotional attachment to an animal, don't hold everything back.
Boyfriend.
Yeah. So
You might have to get a divorce.
yeah. You can't hold everything back either. Don't, I usually plan, at least when I was planning for my first season, I planned on holding back an average clutch of 6 and holding back 2 animals from each clutch. And I had planned on 10 clutches. I only had 8. So I was planning on holding back 20 animals. Didn't quite. And then I did an audit and ended up letting some others go. But all the snakes are cool. I would keep them all if I could.
Yep.
But I have to pay for food for everybody. As long as I break even, I'm good.
Yeah.
So
definitely another good tip. Get yourself a good relationship with somewhere you can wholesale to.
yeah.
That's a good move. I enjoy meeting first-time pet owners in the parking lot of a grocery store, but not everybody does that, right? So if you can get rid of 5 to 10 animals at a wholesale deal at a discounted price, that's 10 animals you don't have to feed, right? So I think that's a good move.
Yeah, I talk to your local pet stores.
Yep.
If you end up doing a show, a lot of times a local pet store will have a booth at a show.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the show, a lot of times they'll walk around to wholesale from people at the end of the show to bring stuff back to their shop.
Yeah.
Or you can just approach them and ask them, like, hey, like, are you looking to wholesale anything?
Right. Or you see at the local shows, you see the big names that go to lots of shows.
Yeah.
Like one that comes to mind is, if you ever heard of LLL Reptiles, they do a lot of that. So you can find those guys as well and wholesale large amounts to them, and they're just going to be off to the next show and try and sell them at the next show. So that's another good way to go. Or just new pet stores that are popping up in your area. They need animals, right? So keep an eye on new pet stores, and as soon as you hear one, see one, reach out, because they're looking to establish relationships for sure. Well,
I think that's it.
I think that's it. I think that's all I got. Yeah.
I got through all my notes, so.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions?
Questions, comments?
Has anybody out there run into something we haven't discussed?
Yeah.
No?
Maybe not.
All right.
All right. Well, next week, genetics.
Yep.
That'll
Good,
be fun.
bad, complex.
All of the above.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good.
Cool.
All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody for coming.
Take care, everyone.
We'll see you next week.